What's wrong?
I'm trying to read the story, but it's literally taking forever.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Insufferable Tonality, the only Radians school podcast that's just two dudes talking about music for this long a time. I am excited, but also kind of nervous because I don't know how this is going to go really. But hopefully we got some good listeners here. If you're watching, you can probably tell today we're going to be talking about The Forever Story by American rapper J.I.D. You guys can't see him, but Omar is right over there. He's audience. He's ecstatic right now. All right, before we start, first of all, what were your first impressions on, just us choosing that album? What did you think at first?
I'll admit, when it comes to music, I am pretty open with it. So when I heard that our first album was rap, I wasn't entirely thrown off by it. I considered it a pretty good first album to discuss, considering it's a pretty big release from a pretty big artist.
Did you know much about J.I.D. before we took the plunge into just the album, The Forever Story?
I knew just about nothing. Maybe he's featured in a song or two that I listened to, but in general, I don't think I knew anything.
Well, just in case, since we have we most likely have listeners or viewers that don't know about him, I got some background info on him. So J.I.D., American rapper, Atlanta specifically, has been steadily bettering his delivery and production throughout his artistic run. He has had 3 full-length projects to his name, The Never Story and DiCaprio 2. And various features, of course, like you said, with other artists. One of the really popular ones is Enemy with Imagine Dragons, I think, right? Yeah. It's Imagine Dragons.
That's the popular. That's the popular feature.
That's the song that people know. And then
Yo, have you guys heard of J.I.D.? He's so good. I love this song with Imagine Dragons.
One very interesting one that I didn't know about before, because I was doing the background info, is that one of his albums is under the name Spillage Village, which is basically a music collective from Atlanta, Georgia, with various artists, and I have not heard anything from them, but it does sound really interesting, really cool. The Forever Story is his newest album, of course, release, and it's regarded as his very best by many, including Omar. The following genres associated with the album, you got conscious hip-hop, soul, and trap. So that's enough about background info. Now, personally, because I don't know what you're going to think.
We haven't talked about this album. We decided on it, and afterwards, we stayed quiet to one another about it.
I'm looking forward to many of these because I really want to be surprised with what you think of it, but I guess I'll start off with what I like, because I know there's people that probably know what I think of this album, but it's been a bit since I've taken a full in-depth listen. So on the likes, J.I.D. is very great at lyricism, and just in this project in general, he manages to just find creative ways to flow through songs in memorable and downright impressive ways, because he does it in a way that's so casual, without he doesn't sound like he's trying. Yeah, and that's impressive.
It felt like every song was made to be segued into the next one, instead of oh, we have a bunch of songs and we don't know what to do with them, so we'll kind of figure out how we're going to segue one to the other.
Exactly. And I really like that in projects, but especially in ones that have this good variety of sound, especially with the flow switches. He just keeps going with them. He keeps going with them, and he doesn't stop.
Every song has one or two. It's insane.
You go through a song and you're okay, I know where this is going, and then suddenly he brings out another switch in the song, an idea, and it's very cool. It's really cool.
Not that it helps a lot with keeping it refreshing, because he uses a lot of sampling, which makes which is something I liked. I really enjoyed the harmonic density that could be found in some of these samples. And like
Samples are amazing. Yeah.
having it switch keeps every sample fresh. So like you can listen to it like 2 or 3 times in a row and still be caught off guard, which is something that happened to me. Like on my re-listens, I kept getting caught off guard by some stuff.
Another thing that kind of goes with the lyricism thing, the way he like does it. Obviously, I already touched on that, but his singing especially, that's just amazing. Like that's just really cool. Like it's just he's not like he's not doing like a subpar job at it, which is really like impressive. Like he's actually a really capable singer, and then the way he goes from like rapping to singing in songs to songs, it's really done. It's done really well, and I really like it in songs
it's some good vocal dexterity.
In songs like Cody Blue, 31, and Better Days. Great voice. He has a great singing voice and an amazing like rapping voice, obviously, but like singing great.
I'll admit I'm not much for like lyricism, but when it came to this album, for some reason the sheer amount of like thought that went into not just like what the topic was, but how it was written out was insane, because like the words just kept rhyming and in a row. Like it wasn't even like at the end. Like it wasn't like if you're reading a poem, like, oh yeah, at the end they tend to rhyme. Like throughout most of the lines, every other word had a rhyme, and then it established another rhyme, which built into later rhymes that would then become prevalent in songs. And that's just something that felt really cool, because it just made his voice seem so seamless. Like it was crossing by so like effortlessly through like everything that was happening.
Yeah, but did you like enjoy his singing voice? Like when he did have to like sing, move from like rapping to like the more focused ones?
I think I didn't notice anything about the singing, and I feel like in a way that almost just says like it was good enough for me to like not think about it. Like I didn't go like, oh my god, what he just changed like his voice into singing.
Natural,
It's
right?
Yeah, it's a natural progression.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And singing, rapping, I already touched on this like already. Variety of sound, very important in projects like this. And he does a great job of just having different forms of music that goes from like really hype trap music to slower and more emotional like moments in the album. Like very singer focused ones are very emotional.
Also,
Cody Blue especially.
Did he sample the NFL? Like there was a song that it sounded like he was sampling the NFL.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, something like that. Like
yeah.
Example. Probably. I did.
It's like it was like penalty on the 30-yard line, unsportsman conduct.
That was in I'm actually remembering. That was in Dance Now, or am I going crazy?
Radar.
That was in Dance Now.
It was like Radar.
No.
Yeah, Radar.
No, Radar. Yeah, it was Radar.
Oh, Radar is like one of my favorites.
Radar is great. Like second track is just like it goes from like again with the variety thing. Like the intro, very beautiful, very nice singing. Like with the callback to I think it's the Never story that has the callback to Everyone's a Star, Every Day's the Move, and then it goes from like that beautiful like singing to just straight up just Radar, which is like really like strong hype, and it's like great. Like he does it so well in this project. With sound, with variety in music comes a variety of features. What did you think of those?
There's some names.
By the way, spoiler, they're amazing.
With the samples, I was doing like a fair amount of background research on like who was in it and like who played what instrument and like who did what. And I genuinely think that like the Earth Gang song, like it was Can't Punk Me, I think it was.
Can't Punk Me.
Yeah. That song had such a really good bass line that like complemented so well everything else that like it stuck out to me, and like the feature itself was really good, and like
it's a very hype song too. It's a very
good
song,
and I think it's Money. I think has Thundercat in it. Again, I'm just a sucker for Thundercat, and I think it's just like inadvertently I really enjoy his harmony and melody and like what he adds to a song, because like his rhythm is great, but when he's playing bass, he's playing fast. So the rhythm is more like it's always just gonna be like either 8th or like 16th notes depending on like what he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was just really good. Like harmonically speaking, they all add a lot.
It's very interesting how you look at like this music in a more like I guess technical way. That's the way I like. That's what I was like curious about, because like the way you talk about like the harmonics, the beats, that sort of thing. So we're thinking that I don't have most of the time. And it's really interesting how you find that like really interesting in this album, which now that you mention it, like yeah, it is really cool. I have this in my notes. I don't know why.
What?
But I mean, of course I know why, but it's just like a little blurb. Stars is amazing. Stars is like my favorite song in the album. The feature, Yasin Bey, I believe. That's a feature that people claim as like being like monumental, like really great.
Monumental in what sense?
I think in the sense that like JID or the artist's like previous status, or I think it's an artist JID looked up to, and then he got him on the record. I think, but it's just like a really good feature too.
Okay, yeah,
like it goes
that
from like
context.
really nice like melodic music to like the ending half having him on that record like going hard, like it was really good. And that's like my favorite song, especially like it's produced by Bad Bad Not Good. For those of you who don't know,
I saw them in like the feature list and I didn't know what they did, but that's what they did.
They produced Stars specifically.
Aw.
I'm pretty sure it was that one specifically. Let me double check. Yeah, Bad Bad Not Good produced on that one, and yeah, no wonder it's really like well produced, that song.
Okay, on the bit more of the negative side, I hate to say it,
Negative.
but
Okay, negative. This is what I only have one thing. Can you believe? I
I-
really only have one thing on my negative list, and that's I know I said the features are great, but I
Loader.
real yes.
something I will admit, I love the sampling and everything that's done with it. But for like the beginning first half, all the samples have no bass on them. So like it really gets rid of like that impact you feel when you're listening to a harmony as just a person who doesn't particularly get what's happening. So you know, it's like listening to a song without bass.
That was
you can go like
weird.
bass isn't a particularly like notable instrument, but when it's not there, it's your music's gone.
It was weird because I was listening to the album on like a little speaker while I was doing stuff, because I was like listening to it over and over for this so I can like make the notes. For some reason there was like a weird like shift in like I guess oomph in some songs that I wish like all of them had. Like first few songs they have that oomph, and then some don't, some do. It's like kind of that weird like back and forth that I did find kind of jarring or weird, but it's something that I don't really like mind. You know, I much rather like even without the oomph, there's a lot that's like done on like artistic, creative sense, especially with like what this album is about.
True.
Is JID growing as like an artist person.
There was
How-
a weird sample that I remember writing. System M had like the aw sound effect.
the aw.
Like I just went like aw.
Oh yeah.
Like I noticed that and I was like,
We do have a special guest in here. I want to bring out William. William, I heard you're a fan of this album, The Forever Story, JID.
I love Kendrick Lamar.
What did you think of this album? And why? No, actually, because I know you like it, but like, why do you like it?
I love Kendrick Lamar.
We have another guest. Wasn't part of the plan, but it's really fitting. Especially, I mean, he doesn't know much about JID.
yeah,
I don't
like
think he knows.
I'll admit this
I
person.
don't think he know.
This
I actually hate you, bro. Like,
Bring out on mine. Bring on mine.
finally. Hi.
Obviously, it's no surprise that you love this album. Like people, like our friend
Yes.
knows that. Why do you feel this like sort of love for this album?
Well, as just a general rap fan, and not only just a rap fan, but like as a fan of JID, I've been listening to him for a bit before The Forever Story. You know, listening to his projects like DiCaprio 2, The Never Story, and his stuff on other stuff with like Dreamville and J. Cole. I think he's just an amazing artist overall. But especially in this album, I feel like he definitely explored, like you said, with a variety, with his sound, with his lyricism. And I just, when I heard it, it was just all great.
Honestly, that's pretty cool. I'm
Wait, I have a
you
question.
were the one that was like telling us about JID and how great he is, and then everyone got hooked on the Forever Story, and there's a good
Absolutely.
reason. why.
Now I want to know why that album in specific. Out of all the albums you've heard, why was that the one you thought would hook us in?
Well, I think it's a general just good intro. I think I mainly said it because it was like the new thing and something that was just really good, and also you could look at it as kind of like an introductory thing or like an intro to is kind of like a discography.
It's new. It's like, and also like a great like starter to his like
Exactly.
future, because I'm excited for that as
Absolutely.
well.
His
Okay,
future
so
with Dreamville, like you said, Spillage Village,
He's
and stuff like that. Well, something I really love is like, for example, I'm just a huge fan of lyricism and like lyrical rap and lyrical rappers like JID and their way with words and how he uses them, and it's specifically this use of like a homophone, and in the line, I bear it all when I talk to God, you know my rep when I talk to Jah, and there you have several layers of talking about God and Jah as in reference to Yahweh, reference to religion, but you also have Ja Morant, a player of the Bears, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
The
It's
Grizzlies.
like you have like that sort of like hidden meaning, like
meanings.
a lot of meanings,
And
that
it
go
starts
into it.
unraveling.
And you can like just analyze it, and it's fun to do
It
that.
is
I think
fun
when
as
artists do that is really
heck.
cool. That I know what he means now. Like
Yeah.
it's that type of thing.
And there's a lot of artists that does it beautifully. J. Cole, Joey
Literal
Badass.
poetry.
Literal poetry. That's like one of the many things I love about just rap.
We're gonna
All
wrap
right.
up. We're gonna
Wait.
wrap up time now. Oh yeah.
Quick, before we end, numerical value out of 10.
Numerical. I don't use numerical values, but if I had to use,
10.
I'd say 9. I'd say 9.
I say 10. It was a beautiful.
All right, I go with 9 as well. Okay,
Pretty
so
good
that,
album. Pretty good album.
I
Pretty good
think
album.
that's a
Really
pretty good
indifferent.
album.
That's it for the first review. If it's messy, no, it's not. You watched it, and that's all that matters. Oh, and be sure to leave any suggestions you have in the comments of wherever this is posted.
Let us know literally any musical genre. We do not care what
Me
the
and
musical
Mauro
genre
are
is.
gonna cover it. This goes for students, teachers, and people who are just
Anybody who's
watching
just
this.
watching.
We are going to cover, like, we are fine with covering everything. Listen to Mid Ones
We
podcast.
have a podcast called Mid Ones.
Listen to Mid
And
Ones.
it's not specifically music related, but we talk a lot about stuff and also music as well. So
It's great. You
if
should
you want
guys
to know
watch
our
it.
opinions, submit them to the Mid Ones.
I want a pony for Christmas.